So the two of us have a few more stories to tell you, one little secret to share, and we have about 18 minutes, so I'll get started. So when we talk about innovation, what kind of words come to your mind? Usual suspects are creativity, genius, out-of-box, breakthrough. Well, we want to tell you today that's a myth. And for that matter, neither of us is that archetypal great innovator. So to tell you our story, let me go back to June of 2013. So here's the time I had graduated freshly as an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, had a broken leg at that time, had decided not to take a job, but instead start up. No clue what business I would do, just a dream to work with engineering students. And one day, I happened to sit through a presentation by a product designer from NID, the National Institute of Design. This guy had recently made a rag-picking tool. So he starts with a presentation that had dozens of pictures of rag pickers at work. He says he spent a week clicking these pictures. Okay? The week after that, he spent time speaking to them, visiting their homes, and joining them on their treasure hunts. And he came back with a stark finding. A lot of them develop hunches in their back very early in the age. Understandable, right? So he sets out to solve this problem. Picks up a little wooden stick, adds a metal shovel to it, and takes it back to the rag pickers, gets them to try it. Realizes it's not so much the wrist that they work with, but the elbow. So he comes back, creates another version of it that can be strapped around their forearms, so they get their full motion back. And when they try it out this time, they like it better. But he also realizes that somehow wood is not the best material, bamboo is. So he does another variant and goes back. So this goes on for a while, and in the process, the tool is perfected. And soon enough, an NGO sponsors large-scale production of this tool to help thousands of rag pickers. Just imagine, so many backs saved, so many lives impacted. And I was amazed. And while I was walking back to my room, or rather hobbling back, I had a broken leg then, I realized this presentation was not about just a rag-picking tool. It could be any product or machine. It could be a software, a game. The funda is actually very simple. Walk that elusive user's shoe for a mile, give yourself a chance to feel the pain, explore options, realize what's gone wrong, tweak, repeat. And while it's not guaranteed, it's likely that you create something fresh and meaningful. And I thought, why was I not taught to work like this in my engineering degree? How did I graduate from there like this? And in that moment, I knew that's what I wanted to do. Go back to engineering students and take this basic approach of designing solutions to them. And that's how TinkerLabs was born. So the next 3 months, I spent time with designers, design professors, design students, and quickly put together a short module on design thinking for engineering students. We did our first 2-day workshop for the students of IIT Bombay, and they were given the task to build some technology for security guards. And where did they start? Sit at the center, sit at the entrance gate, in the parking lot, outside the laboratories, just observe and learn how security guards work. And based on their insights, these guys come back in a 2-day time. They created a mobile app to help the guards do their jobs better. It worked, and that excited me. I felt design thinking is working. But then I got skeptical. I thought, this is IIT Bombay. They're expected to be sharp. So what's the big deal? So I thought, let's do some extreme testing, like we were taught to do as engineers. So I found a young, fledgling, 2-year-old engineering college somewhere in the outskirts of Ahmedabad and set up a workshop there. These were students who would have probably never seen more than 60% on their grade sheets, and their faculty maybe even less. And they were given the challenge to design a technology for women's safety. We took them through the process, got them to speak to women who had seen these experiences, meet the NGO workers, the police officers, and soon enough, they built a solution. That's when I really got amazed. Snapped from it, another institute in my hometown, Jammu, the same experience. And I realized creative potential has not been gifted to a select few. It just needs to be honed. and design thinking has that potential to allow any student lock into that potential and innovate.
So while Kunal was getting excited about taking design thinking to engineering students, I was a student at INSEAD. I was doing my MBA there. At INSEAD, I took an elective course from the field of design and innovation called Strategies for New Product and Service Development. The buzz on campus was, this is a different course. I like different, I thought, so I gave it a try. A week into the course, we students were taken to a wet market in Singapore. Our job, simple. Create a product or a service for the shoppers of this wet market. How would we do this? Again, very simple. Observe and speak to the shoppers. I said, this sounds very funny. No cases, no report, no data. Just go and observe. I said, this course is different, so let me play along. So we immersed ourselves in this exercise. An hour later, our team observed something interesting. The shoppers were struggling with carrying too many bags in their hand, and it was difficult to manage the groceries. When we came back to our class, we were asked to use this information captured on the ground and imagine a new solution. To do this better, the professor said, use a technique called creative remix. Think about a product or a service that you would have liked recently. Take the base element of that product or a service and put it in your solution. At that moment, this visual came to my mind. That's my sister carrying my 2-month-old nephew, Arav, and she's carrying him using a bag. And I thought, can we not use the same elements? Can we not create a similar market bag for shoppers? I was very thrilled. I thought I had a breakthrough idea. I thought it's time to create a kick-ass marketing plan and go conquer the world. So when I went to my professor, he said, slow down, Ankur. The real decision makers are the end users. And you need to go to them and check what do they think. And he even gave me an advice. He said, Ankur, don't be an MBA and pitch your idea. Be a designer, prototype your idea, and share the solution to them. Let them experience it. So I went and built a basic model of this idea, got a few shoppers who were carrying groceries in the street, and asked them to experience it. And to my absolute surprise, they hated the idea. They complained about the proximity of groceries to their face and their body. They talked about the smell of the fish, the smell of the onion, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think about these things. My dream of a killer plan just shattered. I still have that visual of the failure very, very vivid in my head. And at that moment onwards, I started taking the course and the approach a little more seriously. I became those students who went from the last row to the first row and now started participating eagerly with an open mind. I saw how companies around the world was using this design thinking process to come up with innovative products, services, and even design experiences. INSEAD is big on management consulting. So when I joined the school, I thought I will become a business consultant as well. But after this experience, after the course, I no longer wanted to be a business consultant. I wanted to be an innovation consultant. I also wanted to come back to India and work. But there were very few design and innovation firms in India. But I knew of someone who was getting excited about design thinking as much as I was, my good friend Kunal. So we both go back a long way. We both are friends from our engineering days. We both went to BITS Pilani together. So we got chatting and started sharing our experiences, our excitements about design thinking. And we decided, why don't we build our energies together, bring it together to build TinkerLabs, now as a design thinking training and consulting company. And the funny part is, all this collaboration discussion happened over Skype on a very special day called the BITSN Day in August 2014.
So with that story, when Ankur had come on board, late 2014, what was the obvious next step for us to try and expand and take design thinking to the industry and sort of check if we've got it right? So we worked for a month, put together our pitches on design innovation services, and started taking it to the industry. Pitched it to a retail company, no response. Pitched it to a pharma company, nothing. Bank, nothing. Surprisingly, a technology company, and no interest again. So I guess not everything works out by itself. We were shown the door repeatedly. Not knowing what to do, we would come back, try and iterate. We thought, let's apply design thinking right here. So back in those days, I remember we used to be working out of our apartments, and in the afternoons, Ankur would often go out for his short breaks, walk the streets, get his cutting chai, and come back. And one day, he comes back almost storming in and declares, "Bhai, design thinking is like a new flavor of aloo chaat." I looked up at him and said, "What?" And he says, "Yes, design thinking is like a new flavor of chaat. People have to taste it. We can't be describing it to people." And I got intrigued.
So that day, in my walks, I met a new chaat wala in our locality. His name was Rohit. He was serving a new kind of chaat. He was calling it Gaon ki chaat. And his pan was filled with this aloo chaat. And any passerby who would peek into his stall, he would go like, "Gaon ki chaat try kariye sahab. Try karke dekhiye, iske paise nahi lagenge." And if you remember, I like different things. So I was one of those peekaboo guys. And I tried his chaat. And as I was eating, it occurred to me that even we, as TinkerLabs, are trying to sell something new to the companies, a new kind of chart. And they don't understand design thinking. They will only put money and resources behind it once they have tasted it. So soon we collaborated with a design school in Mumbai and invited professionals, academic, students from diverse fields to come and experience design thinking format. And we were overwhelmed by the response. Soon we were doing these sessions for marketeers, researchers, IT engineers, and even IAS officers. The participants were able to figure out far more use cases of design thinking for them than we had imagined. This gave us inroads into the corporate world. Our belief that design thinking could make teams, individuals, more innovative was coming true.
And that's sort of been the journey for us throughout. Try it out, figure if it works, if it doesn't, see what needs to be tweaked. All this was in the early months of 2015. Another interesting thing happened that year. Mr. Vishal Sikka became the CEO of Infosys. He resigned recently, that's another story. But on that day, he made a press release declaring that he intends to use design thinking to incorporate and infuse innovation across the company. And that became a buzz in the whole of technology sector. And we were sort of back to our roots, design thinking for engineers. So all those lessons on computer systems from Pilani days started coming handy. So we want to now use design thinking for the IT industry. So there was one Mumbai-based IT major who was working on a client based in the US. That company was selling dental products to about 30,000 clinics across US. And they had a nagging feeling that they wanted to come up with a new buying experience for their clients because otherwise the competition was eating in. Now this IT company wants to use design thinking for innovation on that project and gets us on board. We're excited, but there was trouble as well. See, if we are saying good design is to come out of user immersion, get close to the user was actually sitting far away in the US. And that's a typical thing for the IT industry. The end user could be sitting anywhere in Germany, Australia, Hawaii, and nobody was paying for our tickets to go to the US and observe buyers and sellers. So the whole idea of design thinking seemed to be a little bit of shatter here. So what could we do? Now a design friend comes in with a plan. So we created a little graphic journal for these users, a mix of employees and the end customers, for them to collect pictures and notes of their experience with the current system over a week's time. We got another set of employees to use GoPros and shoot little videos as they went about their job. We still don't know what to call this. Remote ethnography, virtual ethnography. But soon enough, the user stories started coming out, and solutions began to emerge very simply. And on that day, we thought we had seen a ray of hope to make design thinking work for the IT industry. And that excites us for a specific reason. The whole of Indian IT industry has been facing a big challenge. The old outsourcing model has been outdated for a while now. Experts have long declared that we need to invest in innovation, but that's a tricky puzzle. With design thinking, we believe some parts of that puzzle we seem to have figured out. India has supplied the world enough engineers over years. Can we now become Imagineers for tomorrow? And we believe we might as well be on way.
So whilst all this was happening in the IT world, when we were Googling for design thinking in India and the stories from design thinking from India, most of the search results would be from the social impact space. But TinkerLabs was not working in social impact. We thought this was a great opportunity. And we started reaching out to the NGOs. Early this year, we worked with an NGO called Save the Children India to redesign their initiative in the anti-human trafficking space. So one of their initiatives is around training vulnerable girls to get a living by becoming beauticians. Unfortunately, the families of these girls were not being supportive. Despite multiple attempts by the NGO to explain the value of the program to the families, too few girls joined, and even fewer completed the course. So they needed help. In came TinkerLabs. Our team spent a good amount of time with the families of these girls, trying to understand what is really stopping them. What we realized is the big decisions, and in fact, almost all the decisions, are taken by the male heads of these families, the fathers or the brothers. And they are the ones who are resisting the program. Now we try to understand the reason behind the resistance. And we realize that these male heads are unable to visualize the future that their daughters or their sisters are going to lead as beauticians. And to make the matters worse, they had heard stories of beauticians becoming call girls. Charged with this insight, our team came up with a plan. We called it the Family Day, where the male heads would be invited to the training center, given an exposure to the training program, and then be taken on a short tour to see beauty parlors, beauticians at work, and even get to talk to them. This flipped the entire story. 3 months into this, Save the Children India now sees about 25% increase in enrollment, close to 90% decrease in dropout, and almost 100% job placement for the girls.
So if you see that's sort of been the repeat journey for us, take that same principles of product design and try and apply it elsewhere, and we've been humbled to see the kind of results that come out. So with that, our understanding, our own concept of design thinking has kept evolving, and so has the clan. Now it's no longer just the two boys who got excited about design. There are designers, architects, psychologists, and consumer good marketers from their past lives, flexing their muscles together and exploring the fancy of design, innovation, and impact. So now this crazy bunch of people that we call TinkerLabs take a pit stop every few months to wonder what next. And now our fancy is to take design to public systems. We are excited about using design thinking, the user empathy, and the prototyping way of solving problems. We want to take this and help governments form better policies. We want to take this and help public bodies like municipality, power, water deliver more user-focused systemic solutions. We believe at the underlying level, it's the same principles that have so long helped product designers build great products and business managers come up with creative business solutions. Through all this, we keep evolving our understanding and our fancy of design thinking. But one thing that has got cemented over and over is this faith. We all have creative potential. It needs a scaffolding to be practiced. And design thinking can offer that scaffolding to practice and hone our creative potentials and simplify that mystery of innovation. Thank you.
Thank you.